All right, so here we are from a view outside of my classroom, and you can see that there's nice trees, a fence, a garage over there in the distance, and a nice garbage bin over here. I'm going to extend my arm out away from my body, and you can see my hand here from our vantage point. You can see that my hand is about 10 degrees of arc wide. And if I was to stick out my index finger, it would be about 1 degree of arc wide. So if I'm going to measure objects and kind of give an estimate of how big are things in the sky, or how big the angular diameter is, I might use my finger. So if I'm going to see how high this fence post is, for example, I would see that if I extend my index finger at arm's length, it's about 2 index fingers tall. And then further, if I was like, for example, to look at that garage back there, see the garage door, I would say that that's about 1.5. We'll go with 2. Let's move it back here. From my eye, that's about, we'll go with 2 index fingers wide. Okay, so if my index finger is 1 degree of arc wide extended at arm's length, then the garage is about 2 index fingers wide, and the fence post here is about 2 index fingers tall. We're going to use that information then to help us construct a scenario where we can actually calculate our distance from here in my window to that fence post and all the way over to that garage. All right, I'm coming to you at the desk of Mr. Shane here, and I wanted to finish helping you work through part 1. And for each of these, what we're going to do is find the angular diameter, which is how wide does it appear to our eye? And we're using our hand extended at arm's length. I use my index finger. You can use your pinky as well to get 1 degree. For our purposes here, the fence post height was 2 degrees, okay, or 2 index fingers. I went ahead and measured in between the posts, and it is about 3 fingers, and the garage was about 2 fingers wide. So our angular diameter for each was 2 degrees, 3 degrees, and 2 degrees of arc. The other part is the actual diameter, and I went out and measured the height of the fence post, and it's 1.75 meters. The width between 2 fence posts is 3 meters. And the width of the garage, yeah, it was kind of weird. When I went over and measured some random person's garage, but I snuck in and snuck out and got a 5-meter measure for that. So we're going to explore this relationship between angular diameter and distance using our mathematical relationship. And the mathematical relationship then is the actual diameter is equal to 2 times pi times the distance away from the object, so how far you are away here, times the angular diameter divided by 360. And we can rearrange that equation for little d because that's what we need to find. We have a and we have d, but we need to find little d. So rearranging that equation, bringing the a and the 2 pi into the bottom and the 360 up to the top, leaving d on the other side, we have d equals 360 times big D over 2 pi a. So this is the equation rearranged so we can use it. If I'm calculating how far I am away from, my eye was away from that fence post in our window, what I'm going to do is go ahead and take my distance and put d there, is equal to 360 times the actual diameter, and I measured that to be 1.75 meters. Okay. Whoops. And doing a little piece of paper here, it's buckling on me. And then we've got 2 times pi, and then times a, which is the angular diameter, which we measured was 2 degrees using our fingers. And again, this is an estimate. So if you go through and do this calculation, you're able to come up with the actual distance. And you're going to get the distance in meters. So I have my trusty calculator here, trusty ancient calculator. 360 times 1.75. I get that answer is 630. I'm going to divide that answer by 2 because we have 2 down here. I get 315. I can divide 315 by pi, so I'm going to divide that by 3.14. That's 100, and then divide it again by 2, and my answer comes out to be about 50 meters away from the fence post. So from the window, when we were looking down the window, it was about 50 meters. We can do the same calculation for the others, okay? Finding out how far we are away from the fence post. We should get about 50 meters again if we calculate this out, and indeed we do. We should get a different distance to the garage. The garage was way far off in the distance. We should expect this to be in the hundreds of meters away from us. So I'm going to encourage you to use this equation and plug in the different A and the different D to get the answer for distance here. And we should get around, like I said, 50 meters here, thereabouts. And then we should get in the hundreds of meters here. And of course, if you calculate the distance of Mars, if you're looking at the actual diameter of Mars being 6,800 kilometers wide, and our angular diameter of Mars is way small in the sky. It's 0.00708 degrees wide in our sky. Obviously very small, right? So we're going to use that number and this number to, in the same equation, to calculate how far we are away from Mars. All right, so going to give you some time to work on that, finish up part 1, and we'll move on to part 2.